The cultivation world exists within a distinct, multi-layered system. The lower realm, the human world, is relatively resource-scarce and lacks spiritual energy, while the upper realm, the spirit world, is abundant in spiritual energy and teeming with rare and precious treasures. This naturally raises a perplexing question: why don't those powerful cultivators of the upper realm, with their unfathomable abilities and extraordinary powers, simply descend to the lower realm to seize resources and control everything? Don't the powerful beings of the spirit world want to descend and reap their rewards? In fact, they yearn more than anyone else to be able to freely travel between the two realms, but unfortunately, this is an almost impossible dream. Many readers of cultivation novels like A Record of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality have similar questions, given the relative weakness of the human world's cultivation civilization compared to the spirit world. Wouldn't those powerful nascent soul and void refinement stage cultivators, capable of moving mountains and filling seas, easily sweep everything away if they simply sent a few of their true forms down to the lower realm? Why go to such lengths, employing complex and restrictive methods such as spirit possession, puppet manipulation, and divine consciousness possession to exert influence? The answer to this question, in its simplest terms, is nothing more than two words: suicide. However, behind these two simple words lies one of the most fundamental and cruel laws of the cultivation universe. To understand this limitation, we first need to establish a clear cognitive framework. Imagine the human realm and the spirit realm as two independent spaces with vastly different structures and rules. They are not directly accessible like going up and down stairs, but are separated by an invisible yet real wall. This wall is not an ordinary physical barrier, but a dangerous bulwark containing the rules of heaven, capable of devouring those who attempt to cross it. In the terminology of the cultivation world, it is called the power of the interface. So, what is the power of the interface? We can understand it as an absolute firewall set up by the supreme law of the universe, the heavenly Tao. This firewall follows a simple yet cruel basic rule: the higher the cultivation level of the transmigrator, the more terrifying the repulsive force they must endure, and the heavier the price they must pay. This is not a simple suppression of power, but a deep conflict involving spatial structure, law compatibility, and the essence of life. Specifically, for a cultivator in the refinement stage to forcibly traverse the interface is as difficult as a robust adult trying to squeeze through a narrow opening designed only for an infant. Even if this adult possesses extraordinary abilities and forcibly contorts themselves, the most likely outcome is that they will be trapped within the barrier during the traversal, unable to move forward or backward, and ultimately crushed and torn apart by the violent spatial forces, their body and soul annihilated. As for a powerful cultivator in the integration stage, whose cultivation is even higher, their situation is even more absurd and hopeless, like trying to force a towering elephant to squeeze through a tiny burrow where a mouse hides a complete pipe dream, with absolutely no chance of success. Perhaps someone might propose a seemingly reasonable solution: since excessively high cultivation makes traversal difficult, why not actively suppress one's own realm, temporarily lowering one's cultivation to a level acceptable to the interface, thus allowing for smooth passage? Theoretically speaking, this method seems somewhat feasible. However, in the path of cultivation, realm is the sublimation of one's life essence and understanding of heaven and earth, not an outer garment that can be worn or removed at will. Forcibly, drastically, and persistently suppressing one's cultivation is no less difficult and dangerous than a mortal attempting to traverse the endless Himalayas on foot, without any supplies or protection along the way. The perils and costs involved are enough to deter any rational, powerful being from even attempting it. First, suppressing cultivation is not simply about concealing one's aura. It involves a deep sealing of one's magical power, nascent soul or primordial spirit, and even one's Tao foundation. This seal is extremely unstable and can easily loosen or even collapse when facing violent spatial tremors and the erosion of laws during interdimensional crossings. Once the seal breaks, the suppressed cultivation rebounds instantly under the stimulation of the alien interdimensional power, and the traveler will suffer an interdimensional backlash exceeding their limits in an instant, the consequences of which are several times more severe than directly forcing their way through without suppressing their cultivation. Second, even if one successfully suppresses their cultivation and crosses the interdimensional barrier, breaking the seal and restoring their strength upon arrival requires specific conditions, a lengthy process, and enormous risks. In the barren environment of the lower realm, this process may be extremely difficult, and one may never be able to return to their peak state. Therefore, suppressing one's cultivation level, in the eyes of true practitioners, is akin to drinking poison to quench thirst, a losing proposition. Since relying solely on their own strength is insufficient to overcome this insurmountable barrier, cultivators turn their attention to external objects. In ancient legends and rare records of the spirit realm, there exists a wondrous object called the Transformation Stone. It is said that this object can, for a certain period, soften or open tiny cracks in the interface barrier, providing a glimmer of hope for those who cross it. Therefore, the Transformation Stone is considered a key or ticket to descend from the spirit realm to the mortal realm. However, the rarity of this ticket is beyond imagination. In the vast and boundless spirit realm, the rarity and value of the Transformation Stone are no less than, and perhaps even greater than, those rare and sought-after spiritual treasures in the eyes of mortal cultivators. Its formation conditions are extremely demanding, possibly related to strange nodes of interface collision, remnants of the primordial chaos, or certain unrepeatable cosmic events. Many powerful nascent soul cultivators, even after exhausting tens of thousands of years of lifespan and traversing countless perilous realms, may never have the chance to encounter a Transformation Stone. Its scarcity dictates that it is a luxury possessed only by a select few at the pinnacle of power. Even more cruelly, even if a powerful being possesses an extraordinary stroke of luck and manages to obtain a Transformation Stone, it does not guarantee a smooth journey to the lower realms. The Transformation Stone is merely a ticket, or rather, a ticket to board a rickety boat navigating turbulent waters. Whether one safely reaches the other shore, the human realm, still depends on the transmigrator's strength, preparation, and that elusive element of luck. According to the blood-soaked, hard-won experience passed down among high-level cultivators in the spirit realm, the success rate of using a Transformation Stone for interdimensional traversal is despairingly low, roughly 1 in 10. This means that of 10 powerful beings who board the ship with their tickets, 9 may perish en route. The price of failure is utter annihilation. The soul and body of the transmigrator will be torn into the most basic energy particles in the raging, chaotic interface storm, truly reduced to ashes, leaving not even a trace of remnant soul or mark. This is an erasure more ultimate than complete annihilation, the most terrifying end for cultivators. Suppose a lucky individual, with an unbreakable Tao heart, meticulous preparation, and that 1 in 10 strokes of luck, successfully traverses the interface storm and arrives in the long-awaited human realm. At this point, can he be complacent and begin his conquest to rule the world? The answer is no, and reality is far more severe than imagined. The process of traversing an interface is by no means a comfortable journey. Even if successful, the transmigrator must endure the pervasive erosion of the interface's power and the law conflicts brought about by spatial transformation. This will cause immense and profound damage to the transmigrator's soul essence. This damage is different from the depletion of magical power or physical injuries after a battle. It directly shakes the foundation of the Tao and touches the core of life. An ancient monster in the integration stage, after successfully descending to the human realm, may have his soul riddled with hidden wounds and cracks. He needs thousands of years of quiet recuperation and nourishment, absorbing the relatively barren spiritual energy of the lower realm, and seeking specific rare and precious materials to nourish his soul, in order to slowly heal these wounds and restore his vitality. Thousands of years. What does that mean? It should be noted that the lifespan limit of a nascent soul cultivator, one of the top combat forces in the human realm, is usually between 1 and 2,000 years. This means that the time this powerful being descended from the upper realm spends merely recuperating is enough to outlive several generations of top-tier powerhouses in the lower realm. It truly is a recuperation period that lasts until the end of time. During this long, thousand-year-long period of weakness, the descendant's combat power will be greatly reduced. The integration stage strength that was once enough to establish a sect and intimidate a region in the spirit realm may now be less than 1/10, or even 1/100th. His actual combat power might only be comparable to, or at most slightly superior to, a late-stage nascent soul cultivator in the lower realm. In this situation, if his whereabouts were exposed, attracting the attention of several nascent soul stage cultivators in the human realm and leading to a joint attack, the scene would be extremely awkward and dangerous. This once powerful being from the upper realm might find himself in a desperate predicament, utterly helpless, his millennia of arduous cultivation potentially destroyed in an instant. Soul division descent, a rational choice under duress. Because the risks and costs of descending in one's true form are prohibitively high, the wise and powerful beings of the spirit realm, after countless years of exploration and bloody lessons, have finally found a relatively feasible and risk-controlled compromise: soul division descent. What is soul division descent? Simply put, it means not sending one's entire soul and consciousness to the lower realm, but instead using a secret method to carefully cut and separate a small portion from one's own primordial spirit, carrying some memories, will, and supernatural powers, and sending it to the lower realm. This small portion of the primordial spirit is what is called a soul division or a divine incarnation. The advantages of this approach are very obvious. The risk is greatly dispersed and reduced. Since only a subset or copy of the original spirit descends, even if this avatar encounters misfortune and is completely destroyed in the lower realm, the original spirit in the spirit world will suffer a backlash, losing some of its primordial spirit power and experiencing severe damage to its vital energy. However, it usually won't endanger its fundamental foundation or life. The original spirit only needs to cultivate in seclusion for several hundred years, supplemented by rare elixirs, to gradually recover this loss. Compared to the complete annihilation of the original spirit, this price is undoubtedly acceptable. However, everything in the world has its advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantage of an avatar descending is also prominent. Its strength is severely limited. The original spirit of a nascent soul cultivator might possess the power to shift stars and create celestial realms, but when a wisp of its spirit descends to the lower realm, limited by the amount of primordial spirit power it can bear and the differences in the concentration of spiritual energy and laws of the lower realm, the strength it can exert might only be equivalent to the mid-stage or even early-stage nascent soul level in the lower realm. To want to sweep through the human realm with such an avatar is undoubtedly a pipe dream. The avatars primarily act as high-level scouts, liaisons, or strategists. Their core mission is to seek opportunities, lay infiltrations, and guide events in the mortal realm, rather than directly engaging in military conquest. This perfectly explains why, in the narrative of A Record of a Mortal's Journey to Immortality, the forces and influences from the spirit realm always appear so cautious, treading on thin ice, and proceeding with extreme care in the mortal world. Whether secretly supporting proxies, transmitting information through specific rituals, or expending enormous resources to deliver crucial items, the process is fraught with limitations and twists. It's not that they don't want to seize power openly and decisively, rather, the objective conditions simply don't allow it. The descending being is merely a fragile, limited avatar, utterly incapable of launching a large-scale, direct intervention. Existences like the old monster of the North Pole Palace mentioned in the book are typical examples. They may be powerful figures in the spirit realm, but to achieve a certain goal in the mortal realm, they have to rely on avatars or special arrangements. However, due to the limitations of their divided spirit realm abilities, their conspiracies often suffer from numerous flaws during execution, or they fall short at crucial moments, ultimately being thwarted, sealed, or expelled by the local forces gathered in the human realm. Multiple nascent soul cultivators working together, or utilizing the power of heaven and earth, ancient restrictions. This is not because the individual cultivators of the human realm are stronger, but because they have the home field advantage and exploit the inherent weakness and limitations of those descended from the upper realm. The heavenly Tao is just the law of cost and balance. Looking at this series of limitations, we can easily draw a conclusion. Beneath the heavenly Tao, there exists a profound balance and justice. Spirit realm cultivators certainly enjoy longer lifespans, richer spiritual energy, more abundant resources, and higher cultivation ceilings, natural advantages of their higher level plane. However, when they attempt to extend their reach into lower level planes such as the human realm for direct intervention, plunder, or domination, they must pay a correspondingly high cross-realm cost. This cost includes the near impossible opportunity of finding the transformation stone, the risk of death up to 90%, and the thousands of years of weakness following success. The price is so enormous that even those ancient monsters who have lived for tens of thousands of years, with iron wills and weathered countless storms, must carefully weigh the pros and cons before taking action. This fundamentally explains why, although the human realm's overall strength is far weaker than the spirit realm, it has maintained considerable independence and autonomy, never being completely colonized or controlled by the spirit realm's forces, not because it doesn't want to, but because it cannot. The cost is too high to be profitable. From a purely utilitarian perspective, an ancient monster in the integration stage, cultivating peacefully in the spirit realm and enjoying abundant resources, might, after a few thousand years, have a chance to glimpse the threshold of the Mahayana stage, achieving another leap in life level. However, if he chooses to risk descending to the mortal realm to seize what might be considered heaven-defying treasures in the mortal world, but not unique in the spirit realm, he would need to risk a near-death experience to travel there, and even after success, he would remain a sickly cat for thousands of years. This investment return, no matter how you calculate it, seems utterly foolish and extremely unprofitable. Exceptions, temptations worth risking one's life. Of course, nothing in this world is absolute. The reason it's said to be almost impossible is that there are still extremely rare exceptions. Only when something exists in the human realm, its value so immense that even the most powerful beings in the spirit realm would go mad for it, even willing to gamble their lives, would its descent into the human realm be seriously considered. Such things might include unique ancient heritage, possibly originating from an older, more powerful civilization, containing secrets leading directly to true immortals or even higher realms, long since lost in the spirit realm. Heaven-defying divine objects concerning the very origin of a realm. Their effects might involve reshaping one's foundation, reversing life and death, escaping heavenly tribulations, or directly and significantly increasing the success rate of breaking through to the great ascension stage or transcending tribulations. Unparalleled opportunities touching the very foundation of one's path. For an old monster stuck at a bottleneck for countless years, the lower realm might contain a unique environment, spiritual object, or opportunity for enlightenment that can help them break through. Only when driven by core interests that could alter the fate of a peak-level powerhouse or even a major force in the spirit world will the bigwigs of the spirit world truly harden their hearts and consider personally intervening. Even then, their first choice is never to risk their fragile main bodies, but rather to attempt preliminary exploration and competition through methods such as spirit descent, cultivating avatars, and controlling powerful puppets. Only as a last resort, and when the benefits are confirmed to be enormous enough and the risks relatively controllable, perhaps through some secret technique or a special period that reduces the interface suppression, will their main body descend as the final option, which often signifies the beginning of a massive storm sweeping across both realms. In conclusion, the difficulty for cultivators from the upper realm to descend to the lower realm in their true forms is not a simple setting, but an inevitable manifestation of the inherent logic and balance laws of the cultivation universe. It is rooted in the heavenly firewall of the interface power, limited by the absolute rarity of the transformation stone and the extremely high mortality rate of traversal, and further burdened by the long period of weakness after traversal, making it a heavy price to pay. Spirit descent is the most cost-effective, albeit reluctant, choice that the powerful have discovered under these cruel rules. All of this points to a fundamental law in the cultivation world and even the vast universe. Under the heavenly Tao, there is no free lunch. Any gain beyond the norm must come at a price. Whether it's lower realm cultivators defying the heavens to cultivate and vie for resources, or upper realm powerful beings coveting the lower realms and attempting to interfere across boundaries, they cannot escape the constraint of this word cost. This principle applies to the human realm, the spirit realm, and even potentially higher realms. This is precisely the source of the cultivation world's coexistence of cruelty and allure. Every step forward, every struggle, is a game against the rules, a dance with the cost.